Hi there, and today I am going to be doing an expat tag. This video is all about being an expat parent and languages. So stay tuned. Hi again, and if you're new to my channel, my name is Kelly and I'm an American living in a small town in the middle of the peninsula of Denmark. So today I'm going to be going through 10 questions that were first posted by another expat mom. She's an American living in Sweden and her name is Katie. And I'm going to put the link to her channel down below in my description. And it's just some questions that pertain to being an expat and the language that you speak, getting used to a new language, and also being a mom and dealing with that with your children at the same time. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 1, which languages are spoken in your home and which do you speak? In our home, we speak English and Danish mainly. My husband and I mostly speak English together because we've been doing that for the past 12 years. And it was a little adjustment to switch from English to Danish when we moved here 3 years ago. And my children didn't speak any Danish when we moved here. So my husband only spoke English when we lived in the US. But now that we live in Denmark, he mostly speaks Danish with the children, but they can easily go back and forth between English and Danish, my husband and my 2 boys. Me, not so easy. A lot of times I have to say, what does that mean? But if it's a very basic conversation, then we can easily have it in Danish. I encourage my husband and my children to speak to me in Danish so that way I can improve. But I think it might be a lot of work on their part because then they'll have to explain to me what some things mean and maybe even translate. So I can understand how it might just be easier for everybody to speak English at home, but I kind of wish we spoke more Danish. Number 2, do you ever feel left out when it comes to languages? Yes, I do, because it's so easy for my husband and my children to just have conversations and to say things, and it's so easy for them at this point in time, but it's not so easy for me. I kind of wish that I guess I didn't get a job right away because I was really focused on learning Danish when I first moved here, and then I got a job in an English-speaking environment, and then I still went to classes and things, but my focus wasn't as strong. And so I didn't learn Danish nearly as fast as my children did. So they can have conversations, and a lot of times I have to say, what does that mean? Especially if we are going out to like a parent meeting at the school, and everybody there is speaking in Danish, and I'm trying my best to be a part of the conversation, but I don't always understand what people are saying. And that's another thing. Because, a lot of times when I speak English, I might throw in cliches and figures of speeches and just things like that that we would say in the US. That's just very common for our everyday speech. And I don't know if a lot of Danes realize that they do that when they speak to foreigners and we have no idea what you're saying. So yeah, it can be kind of sad sometimes that I can't always be a part of the conversation. Number 3, how old are your children and how are their language skills? My boys are at this point 9 and almost 7. And when we moved here, they were 3 and almost 6. And they couldn't speak Danish at all. They could speak English pretty much. And over the course of 3 years, they are pretty much fluent. If you were speaking to them in Danish, you would not know that Danish was their second language. They understand Danish very well, and just as any other child their age would that lives in Denmark. So I'm really happy about that. I'm really proud of them. And of course, at first it was a little bit of a learning curve, but it was not so bad because they were immersed in the language and the culture all day long and for multiple days at their daycare. So they picked up on it quite quickly. Number 4, how is running errands and getting around in my new home country of Denmark? Not bad. If I'm at the grocery store, I pretty much know where everything is. I can almost anticipate the questions that they're going to ask me, which is pretty much, would you like a receipt and do you want to buy a bag? And I already know the answers to those. But sometimes there's these questions that I get asked that I'm not really quite sure what they've asked me. Maybe I've picked out a word or two there, but I don't quite know. That doesn't happen that often. And I try to go into different stores and situations with an idea of what it is that I need. So for example, if I'm going into, I don't know, the plant store and I want to be able to find a certain item, well, I have Google Translate on my phone and I'm ready for that conversation. I might say it over and over in my head if it's something that I've never said before or asked for. So, but getting around just in my normal town, the library, the grocery store, it's not a big deal. My Danish is good enough that I can get by. Number 5, what is your mode of transport and how has your experience been with that? Well, for the most part, I have my own car and I'm able to drive, so I haven't had any issues so much with that. When I first moved here, I didn't really know what all of the street signs meant, and so I was a little worried that I would be doing something wrong, but it tended to be the sign that I didn't understand was the one that said you're not allowed to park here. So yeah, that wasn't so bad. And the roundabouts, we didn't really have a whole lot of roundabouts in the US where I was from, so I didn't have a whole lot of experience with those, but that kind of came naturally and it seems okay to use. But I also have taken the train multiple times. And at first, I would just go and buy my ticket and then I would have my ticket for whatever ride I was on. And the machines that you buy your tickets can be put into English, so there's really not a whole lot of issue there. But I remember that we thought that there was an app for the train and we were using it, and I was using it for I don't know how long, a couple of weeks I think, and I was taking the train most days. And the train workers didn't say anything. They looked at it and said okay, and then they moved on. But then there was one lady who knew what she was doing, and she said, "This is for the bus. This isn't for the train." And I said, "What do you mean? I've shown this many times, and everybody said it was okay." So, and I just kind of went at it blindly. My husband sent it up, and I just thought, well, I'm just going to show them this is. I didn't read into it, but sometimes I think when things are in Danish, I try to use my common sense and I try to use prior knowledge before I actually read about it, because I feel like, well, maybe I could figure it out. Now I have my own train card, so there's no issues. I swipe it at the machine when I get on the train, and I swipe it at the machine when I get off. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I also ride a bike, and yeah, you just need to know the rules of the road when it comes to biking, and that's something that I'm learning a little bit every day, really, that I use my bike. I'm watching other people, especially children, since they learn about bike safety in schools and all the rules and regulations. And again, I'm kind of using some of my common sense, but there are still some questions, I guess, that are unanswered. But maybe those will come with time. Number 6, how do people treat you as a foreigner? So I guess in this way, I'm thinking, how do the Danes treat me as a foreigner? For the most part, it's really hard to say. I mean, when I first moved here, I feel like people kind of avoided me, maybe because they knew that my Danish wasn't so great and they didn't want to speak English. Yeah, and that comes with just like acquaintances, the people that you meet in your town. I had some people who kind of gave me, I don't know, these kind of nasty looks, but I don't know. Those people don't give me nasty looks anymore. So I think maybe it's not just being a foreigner, but it can be being a new person. I think that even Danes who move from one area to Denmark to another, they might also come up against this type of resistance where the locals might not be so welcoming of you. But overall, I think Denmark is a very welcoming country as far as nobody's spat on me or made me feel horrible or called me names or anything like that. And so, yeah, I don't know. I haven't really had any horrible experiences, I guess. There have been some situations where I did the wrong thing and I felt like I was being yelled at because I didn't know what the sign meant because I couldn't read it. But yeah, there were a few old ladies who could have really just chilled out a little bit. Number 7, what do Danes say about my language abilities and my accent? Well, for the most part, I get a lot of positive comments from people who say, your Danish is really good for, living in Denmark for 3 years or 2 years or 1 year, whatever it was at that point in time. And that's very encouraging, I have to say, because I know that I feel very self-conscious. I don't know about other expats or other foreigners if they feel self-conscious about saying things because we're unsure about the pronunciation, especially in a country like Denmark where you go to one area and they say something differently than another area. And so you're almost wondering, well, which way am I supposed to say it, I would even be told in my language classes sometimes that the way that I would say things in southern Denmark, and it would be completely acceptable, but in my language class in Midtjylland, they would say, no, that's not right. So I don't know. But for the most part, people have been very nice, and they have said that my language is okay, it's good. I don't know if anybody's really ever commented on my accent. I mean, obviously it's there. I don't know. It's not a hidden secret, so I don't know what the point of talking about it would be. Number 8, what advice would you give to someone who is hoping to move to another country? Well, I actually have other videos on this exact same topic. I have a video on how to survive expat life, which I'll put a link to here, and I would really encourage you to check that out. I have a lot of other videos that talk about what it's like to, raising children here, going through the visa process, different things like that, like things I wish I knew before I moved to Denmark. So it's almost too much to mention in this video. You'd almost have to go and check out my other videos. So I would really recommend you doing that. Number 9, what resources do you wish that you had when you were starting out with a new language? I actually also have a video, I'll put another link here, about ways in which I went about learning Danish, because I actually started to teach myself Danish a little bit before I moved to Denmark and officially took the language classes. So I have a lot of tips and suggestions for different media and different ways of going about it. I taught foreign language for 16 years. So I know a little bit about the ways to approach teaching a language and the ways of learning a language and what kind of works best. For some people, it doesn't always work best for others because we learn in different ways. But you'll find more information if you check out that video about learning Danish. Number 10, who are you going to tag in this video? Well, I would love to tag any other expat families out there. Truth be told, I don't know that many expat families who have YouTube channels, but I would love to get in contact with you. So if you are an expat family and you have a channel and you would like to be tagged, let me know in the comments and then I'll get your channel information in my description. But I would very, very much love to tag one person who I know is an expat living in Indonesia. Her name is Sasha Stevenson, and I have to say I am a huge fan of hers. She makes the craziest videos, and she is so funny. I think I watched the intro that she made, I don't know, a dozen times. It was just so comical. And I really like I don't know, kind of her approach to fitting into her society in Indonesia. I can't imagine that. That's got to be so different. And I know she's been living there a lot longer than I've been living in Denmark. So I kind of look to her to see, I don't know, what to do and maybe what not to do. And her pronunciation of the Indonesian language and her use of it in her videos is really quite inspiring. So I actually would love to tag her, and we'll see if she responds. That would be such a great joy for me. Again, if you are an expat and you want to be tagged, let me know. Thanks for coming along on this video, and I'm really excited to have been working here with Katie and participating in this expat mom language tag. If you want to learn more about my expat life, don't forget to check out my blog. I have a lot of information there about life in Denmark and how my experiences have been since I moved here. Also, don't forget to check out some of my other videos, and I would love it if you are not a subscriber to go ahead and click that red button. It's at no cost and very little effort on your part, but I would really, really love it if you became a new subscriber to my channel. Thanks so much for watching this video and coming along, and I hope to see you in another one. Take care.